I want to start by thanking everybody for joining me tonight. This particular class, obviously we teach a lot of classes here, and they're always included for everyone. Our goal with these is just to spread health and knowledge. This one is one that my wife teaches many times, and I have taught many times. It's a class that we teach every month, and we really ask that all new members come to this class. And the reason is because we want to connect the known with the unknown. And it's actually one of my favorite classes to teach because it's actually never quite the same. Every week, every month, we're always alternating it. It always many times has to do with maybe what's in the media at that time, or something we've just learned from a seminar. So we really put a lot of ourselves into this particular class. So this class is entitled Health from Within Workshop. And I want to talk a little, I always like to really introduce ourselves as doctors in this class. Claudia, you've been under care for a long time, so everyone else is fairly new. And I like to take a little bit of a step back here. Did anyone get the letter that I sent them when they started care? Well, everybody should have gotten it. Anyone read it? The reason I ask is because it talks about how I personally got involved in chiropractic. And obviously we're a wellness center here, and we're a little different than some other offices out there. And we've always started as a wellness center, and that really goes back to how I got involved in chiropractic. So I'm going to tell you a short story about that. I got involved in chiropractic back, many of you know that I like to surf. I was a lifeguard in my college years, and one day I was sitting on the stand with a stand partner, and she mentioned to me that she had a headache or a neck ache, or I couldn't really remember what it was, but she said to me, she has this pain. I said, well, why don't you take a ibuprofen or a Tylenol? And she said, well, I've never taken any drugs. I've never had any vaccines. I'm healthy. My father's a chiropractor. And I remember looking at her and thinking to myself, wow, how are you still alive? I was blown away. I didn't believe her. And I said, I got to meet your father. I need to know what he does. So at the age of 19, I took some time out and I went and met her father, and he talked to me about chiropractic. He introduced this concept to me, and I was really taken back, and I still wasn't convinced of this. I considered myself to be a very healthy person at that point in my life, eating well, exercising. I said, well, this chiropractic, I've never heard too much about it. So I had a family friend that was a chiropractor, so I decided to work in their office. And I spent the next couple years on my breaks from college working in the office and learning about chiropractic, and learning about it from a healing from the inside out perspective. And I started getting adjusted, and I started seeing the changes in my exercise, in my health and well-being. I was never hurt. I was never injured. I was never sick when I went to chiropractic. I always went to chiropractic to be healthy and be well. And so when I went to chiropractic school, they teach you a lot of things. Basically, they teach you how to be competent. They teach you how to diagnose. But when you're there, you think a lot of people are dying, and which really isn't the truth. And so you come out of there, and I had a mixed perception of really what the world was like health-wise. But I knew my truth was to be healthy and well, and so that's why I started a wellness center. That's why when everyone comes into me and talks about this symptom and that symptom, not that I don't want to get them feeling better, but my true goal is to help them live healthier. Because I know regardless if I give them a neck adjustment or a back adjustment, but they go home and they eat TV dinners, or they're taking 10 ibuprofens a day, how healthy are they really, right? Because it's really how healthy we are is a measure of the inside out. And that's what this class is all about. You're only one choice away from changing your life. Now that's pretty profound, right? You made a choice to come in here and get adjusted. That was a small choice, but over time it will be a huge choice. Every day you make the choice of what you're going to eat, and it might seem like a small choice, but what happens when that small choice becomes something you're doing day in and day out? And I'll give you a perfect example. When everyone starts care in the office, one of the first questions I ask, or when I'm going over dietary history, is, do you take fish oils? And I probably would say 80% of the people that I ever talked to said they currently are or were taking fish oils. And of the people that are not taking fish oils currently, most of them tell me the reason that they stopped is because they ran out. The store didn't run out, the world didn't run out, they ran out. And they never went back to get it. And by just that small choice to not go back out and get it, they've changed their life. It's just a small divergent path, right? So it's these small choices that we make day in and day out that really shape our health. And so that's why I'm glad that you came to here. This is one small choice that is going to make a big impact, I think, in the way you look about health. It also make you realize that I'm not crazy and some of the things I might say. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So why do I care about this? I mean, why am I so passionate about this? Well, honestly, because in today's society, how many people know of somebody who is dying from a lifestyle disorder? Or known someone has died from a lifestyle disorder? Probably all our hands could go up, right? And I can tell you that heart disease, cancer, diabetes, these are lifestyle disorders. Many times we choose to think that it happened to us, but it didn't happen to us. We made those choices slowly but surely over time. In fact, every 30 seconds in the US, somebody files for bankruptcy due to a serious health concern, right? That's profound. In fact, and I'm not going to go just off these slides, but there's a couple facts on here that I find really shocking. Right now, healthcare, and especially with Obamacare and all these things, is becoming a very big topic of discussion, right? And people always ask me, Doc, what do you think about Obamacare? What do you think about healthcare? And I always say, it doesn't change anything. It only changes who pays for it, right? We're not getting any healthier as a nation because our concept, our paradigm of health hasn't changed yet. It just changes who's paying for what and how much they're going to pay. Okay? So, in fact, Starbucks spends more on healthcare than they do on beans for coffee. General Motors spends more on healthcare than they do on steel for their cars. That's huge, right? If you're spending more on healthcare than you are for raw materials, who are they passing the buck off to? Number one, us as a consumer. So we're not only paying for our healthcare, we're paying for healthcare of everyone else through products that we're buying. Yet, all this healthcare, all this openness to healthcare, all these things that we have advantage to, more people get colds and sickness than ever. More people are dying than ever in our country. We spend the most by most countries, I think, but we beat out the next country by something like $1 trillion in the amount of healthcare we spend every year. Does anybody know where we rank on the nation's healthiest list? Industrialized nations. Anyone want to guess? Yeah, way down. We're like in the upper 30s. Infant mortality rate in the 30s. That's how many other countries are better than us. Yet we spend the most. Now I always say, I wouldn't rather be in any other country to have a serious accident, a car accident, if I need to go in for surgery, because truly I think we have the best of the best. There are more doctors available, there's more hospitals available. But what's the problem? It's that it's our paradigm about how we should really treat our health is completely backwards. And that's what I want to talk about. Anyone get the 9-dot test? You got the 9-dot test, right, Mike? How'd you get it? The right idea is you take it and you go from here, you go here, you go outside of the box, you go down, outside of the box, through, and then over. See that? Up, down, over. The whole idea of this is to think outside of the box, right? So many times we're focused on a certain thing that we don't get outside of the box. So here's the difference between mechanism, which is what we live in for the most of our healthcare, and vitalism. Mechanism looks at the body and says, okay, there's a symptom here. I'm going to look at this small box and I'm going to say, well, how do I repair, replace, remove, or suppress this part of the body in order for me to not feel this symptom? And this is an outside-in approach. This is where the doctor is treating the symptom and the doctor does the healing. And I'm not going to tell you that this is never the right answer, but this is a very low personal responsibility. Okay? For example, you've been diagnosed with heart disease. So you say to your doctor, okay, what do I do? Well, the doctor gives you a medication and therefore it helps suppress your heart disease. Are you any healthier? Not one bit. In fact, I'd argue that you're even less healthy because you've made that decision over the course of time. Versus vitalism, which is meant to enhance, express. You're living from the inside out. This is where the individual does the healing. This is a high personal responsibility. Why do you think so many people choose this? It's a whole lot easier. Absolutely. You can still eat the things you want to eat over here. Not for, you're going to still feel the effects of it, but the suppressing, repairing, replacing buys you time. Okay? So if you're looking at the box, and you can substitute pain here with any symptom. Okay? And I say that no pain is the thief of health. The reason is because symptoms are our body's way of communicating to us. Just because you don't have pain or you don't have a symptom doesn't mean that you're healthy. How many people know somebody died of a heart attack? 3 days before they had their heart attack, what symptoms did they have? Usually nothing. 50% of people die from their first heart attack. Is that a great way of determining you have heart problems? No. So looking at the outer edges, the fringe of the box here, that's where health, that's where vitality, that's where being young, that's where 100% life really lives. And that's what I'm going to challenge you to start thinking about. So every week I have a topic of the week, I have a handout of the week. My goal is to just be, kind of planting some seeds of thought for you to how to think differently about your health. And when I say to you, say, Doc, I have a runny nose, I have a sore throat, I don't feel so well, I say, good. And you look at me like I'm nuts, okay? But the reason is because that's your immune system working. If you didn't get a fever, if you couldn't have, my kids have been really sick the last 2 weeks, and diarrhea and vomiting. It's been fantastic. Clean that out of your car after a nice hot summer day. But you know what? That was their body expressing health, right? They were sick. Their body was getting rid of it, but they were actually, if they didn't get that out, they could be more sick in the long run, right? And have more problems. So that's their body's response in order to maintain health or maintain homeostasis. So if we've already defined health as not how you feel, what is health? Class participation. This is the time to chime in.
The absence of disease?
No, but that's good. It's somebody that's healthy many times will have an absence of disease, but I'm going to give you an example where you could have a quote-unquote disease and still be healthy. Anybody else? No? Webster's New World Dictionary. To be healthy, all parts of the body must be functioning 100% all the time. Okay? You just need to have balance in your life. Okay, that doesn't mean, and I always talk about a wellness wheel, right? At least a couple times for everyone that's new. I talk about diet, rest, exercise, alignment, and mental well-being. Those things need to be in balance. Meaning you could be eating fantastically, but you have never worked out. You don't have balance. Okay, you could be sleeping great, getting adjusted, but you've never seen a green side of a salad. That's probably not going to do well for your digestive tract over time, right? So we need to have balance in our life. So health is not really how you feel, because there are many people that feel well that aren't healthy, but there are people that are experiencing, rocky patches in how they're feeling, but they are on the road to health. Health is not necessarily absence of disease, and let me clarify this. I have seen people that have high cholesterol. Okay, and this is something very common in our society. You go into your doctor and you have cholesterol of 220. And they said, oh my goodness, you're going to collapse tomorrow, you're going to have a heart attack. Take Lipitor. How many people are, the Ors, Crestor, Lipitor, these are a multi-billion-dollar industry, okay? And I can tell you with absolute certainty, they're not getting anyone any healthier, and they're not helping prevent heart attacks. Published. Okay, so these drugs that are lowering cholesterol is actually affecting your brain. And I taught a workshop all on gluten, and Dr. Perlmutter, this class is recorded, and I talk about the research that's in this book. Having a higher cholesterol is not necessarily, doesn't really have to do with heart attacks, okay? So somebody could have high cholesterol, but be very healthy in everything that they're doing, yet if they were defined as, terms of disease, they would have high cholesterol, okay? So there are people that have these things that are actually, if you were to do your overall test, they would actually be healthier than somebody who didn't have these things, okay? And we could talk more about that, but I don't want to harp on cholesterol. We have a whole cholesterol workshop. Health is not available in drugs and surgery, Meaning, a drug or surgery, what is that there to do? That's there to provide you temporary relief from the situation that you're in. Okay? So let's say you are having a heart attack. Okay? It's probably a good idea to have some drugs, or have the availability of drugs and surgery in your life in order to keep you alive, right? But you shouldn't rely on drugs or surgery for the rest of your life in order to maintain your heart health, right? I had a relative, after they had their first heart attack, they couldn't wait to get out and eat a cheeseburger. I would have thought maybe get out and do some exercise would have been the appropriate response, but it wasn't that. So where does health come from? Yeah, it's the personal choices that you're making from the inside out. Nature is incapable of programming for failure. I love this quote because when you're born, if you've entered into this world, nature has allowed you to, right? I mean, most babies that don't make it because there's something genetically imbalanced, that don't make it, usually there's a genetic imbalance and they don't make it past even the first trimester. There's a lot of babies that just don't make it. So when we do, we're in balance. When we're born, we're in balance. It's just from that point forward, it's up to us to screw it up. And so we have this governing body inside our body. Everything is called innate intelligence. Now, this is the chiropractic term for the body's ability to heal itself from the inside out. It's the inborn intelligence that is in every living thing to heal. Meaning my adjustment doesn't heal you. It doesn't heal back pain. It doesn't heal neck pain. What does the adjustment do? The adjustment takes pressure off the nerve system and allow the body to heal from the inside out. What does eating good food do? It doesn't heal you, it gives you the nutrients so your body can assimilate those nutrients and utilize them to express health. So all true healing happens from the inside out. You might need something from the outside in order to spark that healing, but it truly heals from the inside out without any help. So the easiest example I can give of this, and I always like to give this one, this is sperm in the presence of an egg. Or in the absence of an egg. There it is, in the presence of an egg. Let me go back. They don't know where they're going. They're very concentrated. They know where they're going, okay? Science still can't necessarily explain this. They don't know why. But nevertheless, what's happening is this is innate intelligence at its best. No one tells a baby in utero how to form, right? So does anyone know what this is forming right here? Yeah, it's the nervous system. It's the first thing to form, right? It's branching out. There's the brain. There's the spinal cord. A lot of times we think that the heart is so important in the body, but actually what's developing first is the communication to the rest of the body. In order for the cells to differentiate and the body to start developing. But there's nobody from the outside saying, all right, day 28, get the heart going, right? This is developing. This is happening. But yet we don't think about it. We don't think about, a billion red blood cells, new red blood cells, bam, just made. Right? Thank God we don't have to think about it. Could you imagine getting up thinking about every breath and every blood cell that needs to be made? Our body's doing this day in and day out, and many times we don't really have the appreciation for that. Same thing is true with our health. When we're healing, sometimes we're so ingrained in that we have a pain or that we're sick, we don't realize that our body is trying to heal itself every single day. And so clearly defined here is the nervous system. And the reason I'm spending so much time talking about this is because a lot of times when people think of chiropractic, they think of a back doctor, but it's not a back doctor, it's a nerve system doctor. It's relieving pressure off the nerve system and allowing this to heal you just like it helped you form when you were in utero. There's a baby sucking his thumb. Very important reflex, right? My little guy right now puts everything in his mouth. He developed this. He's an overachiever in this. He chooses not to crawl, but he chooses to put everything in his mouth. So it's our body, from the beginning, is a self-healing, self-regulating mechanism. And as we said, the nerve system is the master controller of this body. So, from that logic, if we have nerve interference, it will lead to body malfunction, which will lead to loss of health. Now, I want to use this on a different example here. So, if we're looking at dis-ease and the disease, in our society, we've really become, I think, more proactive about health, so I applaud us for that. But what's happening here is we're not getting out of the dis-ease and disease center. And I want to give you an example of this. Let's go back to the high cholesterol. What happens if you go into your doctor and you're having heart problems, and they discover you have heart disease? What do they typically put you on? You're a nurse, Claudia. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Well, I know you worked in the. Yes, you did.
Make appointments. Are you talking about in the clinic or the emergency?
What would they do in the clinic? Somebody comes in with a heart disease, problem with their heart.
They pop an aspirin in them.
Yeah, they do. What do they typically do for longer term?
Medication.
Medication, right? Some sort of heart disease medication, some sort of cholesterol lowering medication. That's pretty much standard protocol, okay? That's somebody with a defined disease. Let's say you have no symptoms and you go into your doctor and they determine you have high cholesterol. So you have dis-ease. What's the standard protocol? The same thing that you do when you have disease. You put you on a drug or medication. These two groups don't differentiate very much, right? If you're in dis-ease and you're not here, you're not necessarily in crisis, but we're not doing a good job of bringing this back to living healthy, right? In fact, they've done studies with type 2 diabetes. People that have type 2 diabetes are on all these different medications. And I forget this study, but if you're interested, I'll get actually where it was done. I think it was done in Australia. And they looked at people that were, really hardcore type 2 diabetes, haven't exercised or seen the green side of a salad probably in years. And they took these people and they took them off their medication and they did exercise, minimal, walking, and fresh fruits and vegetables. And guess how many percentage-wise of them did not have type 2 diabetes later? 100%. Type 2 diabetes, which most people, when they think, it can be a death sentence, right? So that's where you have disease and you go back to dis-ease, that you go back further. And the only thing that can have that happen is healing from the inside out. Drugs and medication will always keep you right here when utilized for a long period of time. Does that make sense? So obviously, when you come in and I'm adjusting subluxation. I'm feeling for that imbalance in the spine, imbalance in the nervous system, because we need this to be functioning at 100%. And that's my goal. That's my job when you're here on a regular basis. But the reason I want to talk about the causes of subluxation is because I want to educate you in order for you to be living a healthier lifestyle, in order to remove these things or at least change them as much as possible. So causes of subluxation are physical, chemical, emotional stress. Anybody give me an example of physical stress that would cause a subluxation? Working out improperly. Even working out properly is a stress to the body, so it can cause your body to subluxate. Even though it's good, working out can be good for you. A fall, a car accident. In fact, this is what we spend most of our attention on when we're looking for something that caused a problem. Many times people come in to me and say, "Doc, I didn't even do anything. I didn't fall, I didn't lift wrong, I didn't sleep incorrectly." And I say, let's look here. Probably, and I can only speak for my practice, 60 to 70% of the cause of stress that causes subluxation in the body is here. Chemical and emotional stress. Most overlooked. Now, chemical stress, anybody know what I mean by chemical stress, how that can affect the body? We're not going to go in the whole neuroscience of it, but any examples of it?
Well, one medication can affect
A medication,
another
absolutely.
Medication
Yeah.
can affect another part of your body.
How about just regular foods that we eat? Anyone here drink soda? Coffee. Yeah, soda. So what if you drank soda all day, every day? Yeah, it's hard. That's horrible. But I know people. I've had people that do it, right? 6, 7 sodas a day. But even one soda. Pour soda and you pour Coca-Cola into a sink and then put something rusty in it. What happens to the rust? Yeah, it dissolves it. How good do you think that can be really for your body? Okay, so chemical stress, it can cause neurologic irritation, causing inflammation, causing muscle tension, causing the body to subluxate. We don't necessarily think about that from the things that we put in our body day in and day out. Sometimes it's just a little snack here, a little snack there. Halloween rolls around and we eat sugar all the way until the New Year's, and then we all feel bad about it, and gyms get rich. So emotional stress. Who's here's had emotional stress this week?
I think for this week.
Yes. Yeah. We always have some sort of emotional stress, whether you're working and you just got 100 emails in your inbox, whether you have kids,
Driving in traffic.
driving traffic. Absolutely. This is probably the most underrated cause of subluxation because we don't perceive it. We say, oh, this is just my daily life. Okay? What if your daily life is killing you and you're just not paying attention? That's where you got to wake up. That's where you got to say, okay, I need to make a change. So that's my goal with explaining this here, because you have your brain and this is your body tissue, and here's the motor cells or the motor nerves, and here are the sensory nerves. And as you perceive these stresses coming in here, it sends a message to the brain, and the brain is always going to have a motor response to that, whether it's a good sensory or bad. And so if you're constantly bombarding this with junk, what do you think the response is going to be? Not peaches and apples, right? We're going to have a bad response over time. And that's going to affect how our body processes information, how our body responds to stress. So we need, as a group, to make some changes. Oh, I used to talk about this more, and I adjust a lot of kids. But here's an example of the first subluxation. People would say, Doc, why do you adjust kids? Yeah. The first subluxation can happen at birth. The first subluxation, for my son Dorian, his first was in utero. He came out with torticollis. Anybody know what torticollis is? So when you're shifted like this, okay? His first adjustment happened at 18 hours old in the hospital. Second one was right in front of the pediatrician at the hospital. She was trying to show me stretches for torticollis. I showed her how I adjusted him, and his whole head went right in balance, and she was blown away. She wanted to see what I was doing, okay? So people ask, Doc, why do you adjust kids? Well, as a twig is bent, so grows the tree. If you're out of balance and you have this improper nerve firing pattern going and going and going and going, it becomes strengthened. The earlier you break that cycle, the better off, the better chances that you have. And he's perfectly healthy today. Smallest baby I ever adjusted was 4 pounds, 10 ounces. Tiny little baby, just like in the palm of my hand. And he was just in here today. He was sleeping, but I still adjusted him. So it makes a big difference. And so how you're living your life, whether through chiropractic and other things, is going to make a difference. So I want to give you some guidelines here, some things that you can do to take home, some tangible things that I want you. My goal is that you pick one thing. One thing of the self-care things that we talk about to change. So, guidelines for eating healthy. Who here does not know they should eat fruits and vegetables? Okay, good. We got that off the table. Everybody knows that. So I call this 5 a day the color way. I encourage you to eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, each of different colors every day. Now, why do I suggest that? Well, one is because I think it makes it a little bit more interesting to have a rainbow salad than it does to have just a couple greens thrown in there. It will get you thinking a little bit more about what you're putting in your body every day, and not just monotonous like an apple or an orange, because they all do have different phytonutrients, okay? And all these different phytonutrients do have different, I guess, benefits, and some of them are listed here, like your reds will increase your memory, lower your cancer, promote healthy heart, greens lower, they're all going to lower risk of cancer because they are healthy foods. So just by doing this, in turn, it's going to help you, your digestive tract, it's going to help your immune system, but they all do come with other benefits, and so that's why it's good to mix it up. But the other thing is, I think by mixing it up, it keeps it interesting for you, right? If you're just always eating a green salad with cucumber every day, it gets boring, and then all of a sudden you got bored of it, so you eliminated it, and now we're down the path of, you eliminated it 3 months ago and you haven't eaten a salad in a while. Versus if you change it up, maybe you eat a green salad one day, and then you add some strawberries, and you do more of a fruit salad another day. As you're mixing up, granted, we could probably look at the theoretical ideal, but I'm trying to connect the ideal with the real of what's really going to happen every day. Okay, so if you're mixing it up every day and just trying to make a concerted effort, it's going to make a big difference. But you got to plan it out when you go to the food store and get a variety of different fruits and vegetables that you can mix it up and give yourself some variety so you're not bored with it. Okay. Now, a big question always arises is Doc, should I buy things organically? The answer is yes. I mean, if you can and you can afford it and you can do it, do it. There is a couple things that I recommend to get organic, and those tend to be the things. And there's we could print it out and I could give it to you if you're really interested. It's called the Dirty Dozen, the Clean 15, I think. So to ones that tend to be okay to eat non-organic, and then other ones that you really should. And in general, think about it, if you're eating the skin, especially things like berries, apples, thin skin, where pesticides, these things can get in, please try and get those organic if you're making the choice. Now, last week I gave a handout all on local produce. Farmers markets, we're lucky enough to have Sprouts and Jimbo's. So not always do you have to get things organic, because sometimes when you're getting something from just a local grower, it makes it that they haven't sprayed it with preservatives, that in transportation, it's a whole lot better for you than maybe something that was organic that has traveled a longer distance because it was picked early, and it's just, you know, the toxins that spew into the environment just trying to transport it here, okay? But things with thicker skin, I could say, you know, usually like a banana, I think pineapple's on the list. I'd have to get the list to quote it exactly. But if it has a thicker skin, you're not going to eat it, the skin, you're probably safer to get that one conventional versus the organic, okay? But whenever possible. Now, things like meats and cheeses, dairy, if you do that, obviously the cheese falls in that. Try and make sure really try to get those things organic, raw if possible. Anybody familiar with, well, you want to cook your meats obviously, but raw cheeses and raw milks, anyone familiar with that? So it's not homogenized, it's not processed. So you get the separation in the fats, and that actually can be tolerated by the body a whole lot better than homogenation, which makes, you know, the milk all one consistency. So your raw cheeses and your raw dairy will do that for you, and they're many times easier to digest for people. Even people that think they're lactose intolerant really aren't lactose intolerant. I shouldn't say everybody, but some people, it's really the homogenation process of the milk is what they have a problem with. And meats, you know, red meat I think got a bad rap for a long time, because I think red meat, if it's grass-fed and organic, can actually be quite good for you. The fats in that can be good. Fats are really important for our body. Another thing that I discussed at length in the class all about gluten and why we need good fats in our body. So does this make sense to everyone? Okay, so just a couple, I just want to plant that seed there to try and incorporate that. And, you know, if there's some things you think you can switch from conventional to organic, you know, trying to make a couple really smart decisions to try and eliminate some of these toxins, these chemical stresses that might be coming into your life that you don't even realize on a daily basis. Okay, and one side note, genetically modified foods, in my opinion, are the devil. You know, they try and convince us in our society that they are okay for you. You know, continents like Europe have outlawed them, so you can't get genetically modified foods over there. But the U.S. pushes it really hard. So if you know that something's genetically modified, I'm gonna really have you question what you're eating on a regular basis. So, you know, obviously if you go out to a restaurant, you're not going to be able to necessarily control that, but, you know, we can control what's in your house. So just take a look at some of the stuff that you're eating, because it does affect how your body is made up over time. Water, one of my personal favorites, especially because it's so hot. So, average person with moderate activity levels needs to take half their body weight in ounces of water a day to really stay well hydrated. Okay, so I usually, when people first start care, I say that I want you to really be between 64 and 70 ounces of water, and that's usually to get people started, because most people usually aren't there. But for example, I'm about 170. So I try and I do take a small cup of espresso in the morning. Okay, other than that, I drink water throughout the day. So I try to bump up my water intake to close to 90 ounces a day. Okay. That is really important because the water flushes toxins from your body, hydrates your joints, and hydrates your muscles. Many times, as we slowly decrease the amount of water in our diet, we'll say, well, I'm not really thirsty. Well, that's because your body is in the mode of thinking that there's not water around, so it's conserving water. But you should regularly be going to the bathroom throughout the day, and not to kind of go there, but I'm going to go there. You should pee clear a lot throughout the day. Okay, in the morning you'll find it'll have more of a yellow consistency or color, and after meals, that type of thing. But throughout the day, you should be flushing toxins out of your body and hydrating the joints and muscles through water consumption. Now, water also is an interesting topic. I personally don't drink tap water. Tap water, in San Diego, it's loaded with a bunch of stuff. So if you can get a water filtration system or bottled water that you're drinking regularly, I do think it's healthier for you. There's a lot of fluoride in the tap water. There's a lot. You probably know a lot about the water that we have in the area, or the lack of water that we have in the area. And also you might not be hungry. You might just be thirsty. So if you're constantly finding yourself eating, just try drinking a full glass of water in the afternoon. See if it makes a difference for you when you're starting to feel that hunger come on. Resting. This is a part that goes back to the emotional stress, and I like to address this because I think that we all sleep, we don't all rest. So stop watching The Box, okay? And my wife gives a funny little saying that we live our life by a box. We get up, we get out of the box, we go shower in a box, we sit down at a table and pour our breakfast from a box. Then we get into a box that we drive to work, where we sit in a box, we stare at a box, we get away from our box, we get back in a box, we drive home, we eat dinner, and we lay down in bed and we watch a box. Okay? So if you get out of the box, think outside of the box. There's a lot of other ways for your body to heal. So at night, reading a book. Okay, setting an alarm for bedtime, going out and taking a walk instead of watching TV. Waking up at the same time, listening to peaceful music before sleep. These things set your body into what's called a parasympathetic stage. Okay, that's really where we have sympathetic nervous system, we have parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is a stress response. Parasympathetic is a relaxation response. Where do you think most people live their life? I can feel everybody wants to say sympathetic, and you're right. It's the sympathetic nervous system response. It's that stress response that's going and going and going. That's why so many people carry tension in their upper back, because they're under so much stress all the time. And then we go home and we watch TV, which is what's on the news. Well, 3 cities away, 10 people got murdered, a car ran, hit a train. I mean, there's always negative news. That's what CNN stands for, constant negative news. Right? There's always going to be something negative on the news. I guarantee it's the same every night. So don't watch it, right? Read a book, or do something else in the evening to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Abdominal breathing. That's why when I'm done adjusting, I always have people breathe before and after, because it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, and it helps you actually let it go. Okay? And whenever you're in a stressful situation, if you take 5 steps back and you actually breathe, I practice this often with my children, take 5 steps back and breathe, you can let it go. Does that make sense? So it's something to practice. This actually doesn't come easy, and that's why I like to spend a little bit of time on it. But I find that so many people are under emotional stress that I need to make it a point of mentioning this, because without changing that emotional stress pattern, we never change our health long term. Exercise. Everyone knows that this is good for you. I could probably give everyone the perfect workout, quote unquote. And I'll be completely honest. I could say to myself, all right, Doc, you should be in the gym 4 days a week and doing strength training, resistance training, and some cardio. And if I were to tell myself to do it 4 days a week, I'd be lucky to do it too. But I could tell myself, okay, go surf 4 days a week. I would gladly do it 7. Okay? For exercise, if you're not doing anything, you got to get moving. Just even walking, 30 minutes of walking a day has shown profound results of just increasing longevity of life, helping with your heart, helping with your emotional state. We need to exercise. We don't need to do the perfect workout every day, but we need to get moving. And for some people, that's just even parking your car further away, taking the stairs. I went to Costco at lunch today. I parked a little further away where there were a numerous number of spots. You know how many people were circling for the 5 closest spots at Costco? Like for 10 minutes, we'll watch the same car circle. It's amazing to me, but that we don't want to have this little bit of extra exercise when half of our society needs to just get moving. So pick what you like to do, find something that you like to do it repetitively, and enjoy it. because that will also help activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Does that all make sense? Any good tidbits that you guys can take home from that? At least maybe one, something that you can change in your lifestyle right now, okay? And I like to finish up with a couple quotes here. This is a great quote that my wife put in here. Success comes from us, not to us. But as does our health. When we're kids, and I like to teach my kids this, is that you have to, you can't just give up. You have to work at something, right? You have to, whatever that skill is, success is not going to just be given to you. Well, I find it interesting that we spend so little time focused on actually working on our health. We expect that that is just coming to us, and we're surprised when we don't focus any attention on it, and it's all of a sudden taken away from us. Health, just like success, has to come from us. Okay, so that's my goal tonight, is to help you have health come from you. And this is my son, this is Dorian, when I think he was only like 2.5, 3 here. This is one of our favorite quotes. That which you do for yourself dies with you. That which you do for others is immortal. And honestly, that's why I'm taking these couple minutes here tonight, because I've seen in my 11 years of practice, I've seen people pass away. I've seen people that aren't living healthy. And I've made a commitment, especially over my last 5 years, especially since my son has been born, that I'm going to tell people the truth. They might not like to hear what I have to say. Okay, they might not agree what I have to say, but I'm always going to speak my truth. And the reason I do that is because if I keep that knowledge with me, and I don't share it with anybody, I might live a healthier life, right? But how does that help my neighbor? How does that help the kids that are going to grow up with my son? Okay? If our society doesn't make a change, it's going downhill fast. So what I challenge you to do is do one thing for yourself, but do one thing for somebody else. Take something that you've learned and share it with somebody. Because I guarantee you that they're hungry to know about health. Okay? Most people rely on television for their health knowledge. And at the end of watching a sitcom, you think you need to be on 3 different medications and taking an aspirin to go to sleep every night, right? I mean, we're in that mindset. So if you share this information, it doesn't die with you. There's a lot of people out there that are suffering and need our help. And by learning just a couple things, they could make that one choice for them that we talked about in the beginning that could save their life. And you might be that. So I'll leave you with that. I hope to inspire you and educate you and make a couple life-changing decisions.